Lifestyle Live. Come and see, you'll agree. There's a positive energy. Lifestyle Live.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the Lifestyle Live Podcast.
Faces you know and a team you can trust. Stories that form your heart. Lifestyle Live. Lifestyle Live.
Refresh your relationships, unplug, and focus on you. In this week's Lifestyle Life podcast episode, international speaker and spiritual thought leader Monica Berg is on a mission to make sure we're okay. Our assignment, to check in with ourselves every day. Monica says it's up to us to live a life as the most fulfilled person we've always wanted to be. So how do we do that? Let's find out. This is the Lifestyle Life podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Lifestyle Live. Lifestyle Live.
All right, you guys, so your assignment this spring is to check in with yourself and make sure you are okay. Joining us right now is Monica Berg, international speaker, spiritual thought leader, and author of Fear is Not an Option and Rethink Love. Monica, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's good to be with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I've been reading these notes this morning and I kept thinking to myself, I need this. I need this. I mean, I think, Monica, this is something we all need because you talk about how to refresh your relationships. A lot of the little steps that we can do to the key that make the key to our happiness, right? Sometimes it's just the littlest things.
I think that people put a lot of effort into making friends, finding their soulmate or their life's partner. And once we feel like we have enough friends or we have our people, or we've met our spouse, we tend to then go to the next thing that's on our list. And we think that the relationships and the connections we have will stay as they were forever. But the truth is, the first thing that we actually lose in relationships is appreciation. And when appreciation is gone, the feelings of love is gone. Even if you talk about a parent-child relationship, of course, we love our children. We'll always love them. But if you think about the days when they first were born, the amount of appreciation one has for their child, right? The softness of their skin, the smell, the connection, it's like you're in awe. And then when they get older, and, you know, when they hit puberty and they start to have a mouth on them or they'll speak back to you, you're like, oh my God, I'm feeling other things other than love. Now, do you still love the child? Of course, but the appreciation wanes. So it is really important. And I love the question to stop and ask yourself, you know, where am I with my relationships and can they improve? Or are there some that are toxic for me? Or, you know, to really reevaluate that.
Well, I like how you say that, going back to, my first statement, check in with yourself and make sure you're okay, because you do sort of give this as an assignment to all of us, because I don't know, I think we all need to do that every once in a while, right? Just, do you think it allows us to reset and reevaluate sort of the noise that's around us?
Absolutely. I think also, you know, we are curious by nature. We're seekers, right? And I think it's important to understand that your partner and yourself is forever changing. And people, you know, I talk about change a lot. People crave change, but they fear change. Again, once we found our mate or we found our dream job, or we found our home, we've collected all these things, we get really afraid of losing them. But then you have to stop and ask yourself the question, am I happy? Are these things that used to make me happy still making me happy?
And it's okay for dreams to evolve, right? What you thought you wanted 5 years ago. I think we feel bad and we put pressure on ourselves. Like, I did all this work and I thought this is what I wanted to be and this is what I wanted to do. And I'm going to disappoint so many people.
Exactly. And that's how you live in the place I call the almost. It's not bad. It's not great. It's good enough. It's almost like settling, really. And especially if you compare yourself to other people, at least I have this or that. But to really keep living to your maximum potential, whatever that looks like, you have to stop and ask yourself the question, the things that used to work for me, are they still fulfilling me today? I mean, even if you think about how you eat, right? Some people are vegetarian and then they don't feel like it's working anymore, but they're not sure how to go about it, or they really identify with that. Like even being a marathon runner, right? I was a marathon runner and then I started to be a dancer. But if I told you I was a marathon runner, a lot comes with that, right? You might think I'm disciplined, that I'm athletic, that I, have tenacity. But then if I no longer that, then what? So we get really,
Right.
we hold on to things for many different reasons. And as you stated, often, we're afraid to disappoint the expectations of people around us. But at the end of
We
the day,
are.
it's your life, right?
Oh, there's so much to that. And I've been guilty of that myself. And another part I think is interesting because you talk about spring refreshing your relationships. I see this in articles often on Facebook when women, especially, there's an article saying, oh, gosh, I thought we were really good friends, but it turns out I might be the only one who thought that, and I can't get her to reciprocate. And it feels like you're begging for this friendship. And, a lot of the advice is saying, take a step back and let it go and reevaluate that as well. And I think it's the same with, family and romantic life. What would be your advice with something like that?
Well, here's the thing. And I learned this, and my view on friendships, I think, is really healthy. I think it's also very different than most people. So I got to a place where, and this is for romantic relationships and friendships, that if I am the kind of person that enjoys, let's say, celebrating another person's birthday, remembering them, showing up for them in important times, that's who I want to be in the relationship. And I also was able to manage and reassess my expectations of what they were supposed to give me. So my hierarchy of friendship really is, I expect that they are loyal. Now, a loyal friend doesn't mean they're going to remember my birthday every year. It would be nice, it would be considerate, but that wasn't for me, it was that they show up consistently. Right.
Yeah.
So once I identified that and I made that really clear, that for me is what I need in a friend. And of course, there's different levels of friendship, but first you have to decide what it is that you want to offer and what you're prepared to receive. And they honestly won't really look the same necessarily.
Right.
And I think that's where people get tripped up. Now, if you look at romantic relationships, of course, again, I think we get in trouble when we have a lot of expectations. A lot of things are assumed, which are the termites of relationships when we make assumptions. So I think you want to make it a practice of asking questions and learning to express yourself. And the only real expectation, I think, in a romantic relationship to have, again, is the loyalty, is commitment, but is really showing up. It's the same thing again, right? The other things are more stylistic, right? Do you go out or do you stay in? What's the balance? How do you communicate that? What is a sacrifice and what is compromise? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I've written books. I've written a book on love and a book on fear, and there's a lot to unpack there. But I think at the core, it really comes down to knowing yourself. And then from that place, you can then share that with other people, but also you're clear about your expectations.
Yeah. I think another interesting part too is you talk about unplugging, the importance of that on your physical and mental and emotional health. I've actually done that myself over the years to where I had to unplug, unfollow, whatever you want to call it, because certain things were just, it was silly and it was getting to me too much. And I would think of that and I'm like, why am I letting this take control of my everyday thoughts? Like this is not needed in my space. What do you say to that as well?
Or even like, why am I suddenly in a bad mood? What did I just see on Instagram?
Why do I care so much about this? Why is it bothering me?
Yeah, the art of unplugging. I unplug every Friday night to Saturday night. No electronics, and it's really liberating, I have to say. And it also puts things in perspective. Like after I unplug, then on a Sunday, nothing's that urgent or immediate, you know? So it kind of allows you to push pause and so that you're in the driver's seat, because if not, you're constantly responding to external things all day long and you don't even realize it. Oh, that needs my attention. Oh, that. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, what did I want to manifest in this day? What was my thought in this day? So I think it's really important to be able to have self-care. And I think people misunderstand what that is also. Self-care, I mean, of course, it's nice to get pampered and massages and manicures and, and working out 1,000%. But self-care for me is more being self-interested, right? Am I listening to the desires that I have, to my wants, to my needs, to my dreams and my hopes? And how much time do I give to that in a day? I think that level of self-interest, I did that today and didn't feel really great. So you know what, next time I'm not going to do it exactly that way. Or I'm curious about that thing over there. I'm going to make time to try that this week. When you constantly feed yourself like that, people often ask me like, well, what's your goal right now? What are you working on? And my space right now is self-parenting. I have 4 children, and somebody's like, oh, that sounds horrible because parents are like strict. I'm like, no, self-parenting, if you're doing it well, you'll forgive yourself for making mistakes. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no perfection there. You will mess up, but also you'll offer a kindness, a nourishment, a support,
Yeah.
you nurture, right? And so to offer that to yourself, I think is really so important.
It is
And
difficult.
it is.
When-
And that's why, to your point, the unplugging is necessary, because if not, you're just in the, in a race, and you don't even realize it. You
Yeah.
don't realize it until you step.
I think too, with the inundation of social media, I mean, you've got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, this, that, and the other. There's so much, I call it noise. Like there's so much out there that you can get, I mean, you can just spend so much time scrolling through your phone with the reels, the videos, the pictures, and then the comparisons, right? Especially as women, but we think, oh, I don't look like that, or oh, I should go on a vacation like that. I mean, the thoughts just manifest, and to the point where it's negative, 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 and you're not focusing on you or the positive things. I think we're all guilty of that from time to time. And that's another tough one.
Well, I make it a practice. I only, I really use it for work and for fun sometimes.
Yeah.
For connection, but I only check it for like 5 minutes a day. Like I'll scroll in the morning and scroll at night. Cause honestly, it doesn't make me happy, and I want to be busy creating. But I think for people who, let's say, spend a lot more time on social media, I think that it's really important to create this spiritual practice of, if you have a thought, let's say, so the examples you gave, you see somebody go on a vacation and maybe in your mind, you think you can't afford it, or you don't have the time, or you don't have the means, whatever it is, you stop and say, okay, what is it that I can do? It's thought followed by immediate action. So the thought that we've just identified happens to be negative, but let's say we transfer that energy to something positive. Okay, I've identified something I desire. Now, how is it that I can, maybe I won't be able to go to that island somewhere, but how can I create some of that with my life circumstances and manifest it? Even if it's a year from now, put a date down, book the thing. So you feel like you're working towards something. But you're not just living and looking at somebody else's life. You're allowing that to inspire you to create change.
Do you think too, as we grow older, I remember always saying that I feel like no matter how old I get, I always feel like that I should have a goal, something that I want to achieve, because otherwise I feel like we do kind of get stagnant a little bit, thinking, okay, well, what's next? Well, what's next? And then maybe you let the outside factors influence you. So I think having that outlook, that's a good thing, right? It keeps you moving forward.
1,000%. I think that first people have to understand the law of life is change. And if you're not growing forward, you're going backwards. And if you're not actively participating in change, it's happening to you anyway. And you really don't realize it because it's in small ways every single day. And that's why when big changes happen, we're like, oh my God, what happened here? I wasn't expecting that. But if you change your relationship with it, and understanding of change, everything is different. So I think it's super important to have goals, and I make a list every week. I have small goals and I have big goals. So I have weekly ones, I have monthly ones, I have 6-month ones, and I have yearly ones. And I do meet them. When you write them, the power of intention is so powerful.
Oh, I love that. The power of intention. Write them down. That's what I do. I'm like, I write them down and I take it like month by month. Like, how can I get this done? What is my goal for here? But I do think there is something into seeing it, and seeing it on paper allows you to get there.
Yeah. And let me give you another little tool that really works.
Okay.
It's to create a to-be list before a to-do list.
A to-be list.
So for most people, the weekly to-do list is pretty boring, routine, go to the store, get this thing is due, whatever the case may be. If you have kids, their schedule is added on top of it all.
Yeah.
And so then you look at a lot of your weeks and you're like, well, what did I really manifest? I did things, but what was that doing all about? So if you want your doing to be purposeful and aligned with who you are, you have to know who you are. So, and often we don't, or we know who we are, we don't like who we are. So it's really, who do you want to be? So for instance, let's say, you can do it 2 ways. You can create that, I want to be a great friend. And so to do on your list of to-dos would be check in with friends or a friend in need weekly, that kind of thing. But let's say
I'm writing this down. Who do you want to be? Okay, keep going.
So let's say, we had a big resolution for people, at New Year's, but I think every few months is to get fit, right? That's everybody's like, oh, I want to, be more healthy, whatever that looks like. So they do their to-do list, which is, go to the gym more, hire a trainer, cut out sugar, whatever that is, right? Pick an hour in the morning to work out, and that's all great. But you really have to look, who do you have to be in order to do those things? You need to be disciplined. You need to be accountable, right? So when you start focusing on being, the to-doing actually happens, and they're aligned. They're aligned with purpose. And then the action, it all comes together because everything is body, mind, and spirit. So it's really important. And I've been doing this for a decade, and it really works.
It's just all connected, isn't it? It seems like it's all connected. Is there anything else that you would like to leave our listeners with before we let you go?
Well, I could talk forever. I think that the most important thing I think often, and I see this so much, is that people feel like they don't have any influence over their lives. And I really want to get the message across that you can be a co-creator in your life. You can create change. You can create the life that you want. You just have to first accept that truth and not put your life on hold. And it's really small actions each day. So when you have a thought, if it's negative, turn it into a positive one, and then follow it by immediate action. So even if your thought is to write a book, then, you know, on your list, make time for writing 20 minutes, even just once a week, you would start. So anything that's going to get you, just don't put your life on hold, because I always say I'd rather the pain of discipline than the pain of regret. And all the things we've talked about does take a discipline, but it's completely doable.
It really is. No truer words have been spoken.
Lifestyle Live. Lifestyle Live.
What a wonderful conversation. Wonderful tips. Monica Berg, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I hope everybody is able to walk away from this in a more positive outlook. And like you said, just change that perspective. It can make such a big difference. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the Lifestyle Live Podcast. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And connect for even more on Facebook and at lifestylelive.tv.
Faces you know and a team you can trust.